Hi, this is me, Oten from Nerdimations, and today I'm going to be making a video on what if the Americas had even cooler civilizations. I'm not saying that they didn't have civilizations, and because they literally, their civilizations and are what I spent 2 days drawing. I'll be switching between North and South America. Don't mind these. These, these to show. Oh, what would happen if these nations were maybe more powerful, and could resist from European invasion, and then later on. Now I know this map is technically for the early mid 1300s. It's but this story starts around the point of diversion and starts around at 1100 with one singular thing. Leif Erikson brings a few horses, sheeps and pigs when he lands in Vinland. This is exactly where he landed, around here. And the basically the idea is that by giving these peoples both fast and easy travel, and a good source of high nutri high nutrition of high nutrient food there food and also wool. Oh, pot. Well, the goal is to make the make these areas as at least them more powerful, and more organized as into civilizations. So here's what happens. Leif Erikson lands with his horses, sheep, and pigs, thinking that this will be a long-term Irma. He doesn't know that the know that the people of the area don't really like intruders, and so they brutally destroy his camp. After camp, camp, Leif Erikson has to leave as quickly as possible, and he forgets that's all about his prized animals. Now stuck in North America, he goes back to Greenland in hopes of maybe in spot of in hopes of maybe in getting the Norwegians or Icelandics, ex, or even just the Greenlanders are as excited. It it doesn't work. Work. But the Cree now the Cree don't know what the heck these animals even do. Uh, But do but the animals do exactly know what to do. Breed en masse. So for sheep, this is basically like their homelands, and back in the steppe. Up half of the year cold, half of the year okay. In just a matter of a few dozen years, by the end of the entire region of Newfoundland and Labrador, or is covered in horses, sheep, and pigs. Not fully covered, but more like how the how 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 places like Europe and Asia were are. They don't move northwards much, but rather southwards, or it's for better grazing. There, they basically eat hoofed mammaltopia. Yeah. Here, there is endless amounts of grass. There's few predators because the predators don't yet know that you're tasty. He, and and there is and and there's tons of open land. Land. The sheep are now breeding like rams. So, by the I mid by the end of the 1100s, this is what I'd say the sheep, sheep, horse, and pig population looks like. Like, and with more sheep, pigs, and horses, more sheep, pigs, and horses will be born again. And by the early by the early mid 1200s, not long after the end of the Crusades, the simply there's sheep, pigs, and especially horses have pretty much solidified themselves on elves into the into the Americas, or at least the part of the Americas they currently are in. And they only are spreading faster now. Ow. Oh. By by the end of the by the end of the 1200s, this is what practically the I practically all of Eastern America is inhabited by them, and not long and and by 1310, and they're encountered by Mexican civilizations. You haven't heard of a thing like them. Who only 200 years earlier had been and in the confines of Newfoundland and Labrador. That we're making pigs, sheep, and horses an invasive species. Is for the betterment of America. But hey, we're going to be doing almost everything for the betterment of America, even if that's ruining America. Uh, Continuing, the now that we have sheep, horses, and pigs, rarely their focus will be on on places like Cahokia and in the Haudenosaunee. The Haudenosaunee did exist by this time. They were formed around the 1100s, or practically for almost everyone on this map besides Cahokia. They're ancient. And the Haudenosaunee, one of the first actual countries used to be introduced used to sheep's horses, and pigs. And if guns coming to the Haudenosaunee 300 years later would ever tell you anything, it's that they at that they be it's that at once they do have these, they're practically unstoppable. The Mohawks are the very first of the five. I but they don't really use it for actual warfare because simply or simply why simply they don't understand him. Um, and there's probably going to be some brave Mohawk souls finding out that you can eat them and farm them, because also farming animals, that are passive, is also pretty new to the Native Americans of the region. And sure, they did find some things that they can hunt, but they unlike deer, but deer can never be found in high enough yield to give all the meat to run the Haudenosaunee, which is why fishing was kind of important. Now, now the now there's no need to go on hunts anymore, or because you can put the hunt right in the backyard. There's also thing into all the other tribes, the Abenaki tribes, people like the Pequots, the Susquehanna, Hannocks, the Cree, especially, and the Ojibwe. So probably they'd already be in use in other places, and only during one of their raids is what the Haudenosaunee notice, so that they exist. And for around third, and final, and finally, the first major laws concerning earning livestock begin to be passed around the early around 1215. You know, and still, this doesn't affect the country too insanely. These ceremonial hunts most likely still occur. The culture isn't insanely altered, and since everyone else has the new significant population boost is from livestock, and can travel farther just like the Haudenosaunee, only doesn't give them too insane of a power up compared to everyone else. The next country to be exposed to these would be Cahokia, and for Cahokia, that would not really matter. You see, Cahokia was in full free fall by now. Internal war and corruption that had been turning the country out of whack for 250 years. Their high point had been around the year 1000, and so recovering them around 1300 it is almost unfeasible. Cahokia's decline by 1320 he continues is anyways is with is as the country simply is too weak and to actually enjoy the benefits of horses, sheep, and pigs. Sure, sheep and pigs are good for making tons of meat, but remember, or you're not going to be feeding a large population if your country's in full free fall. And horses aren't going to be useful when you're trying to consolidate whatever little land you still have. Now let's go back up and see who next would be exposed. Well, Mexico. Oh, and states. You might have been thinking the Puebloan states over here, but they probably wouldn't due to them being in the middle of a desert mountain region. At least the Mexican coast is a bit more traversable for horses, sheep, and pigs. So possibly they could at least use them, unlike like the unlike like the Puebloans, that they specifically focus on breeding these into actually usable animals once they figured out they can be domesticated. Now, where they figure out it can be domesticated out of ingenuity or out of observation, probably, because as also leaf air, because unlike food, possible food, Leif Erikson didn't and to remember to bring an entire or book on how to domesticate animals, and also Native Americans had already been kind of doing that for a while. Canines had been used for food in parts of the Americas, and so they probably figured out that you can do the same thing with sheep and horses, as and pigs. Hopefully not the horses. Also, this may and also with horses around, it makes a new power imbalance between the Mexican states, or rather, a new power balance between the states that can use horses and the states that can't. The states that can't use horses as horses are safe from horse warfare because as their territory simply is hard to navigate it using and cavalry. While the nations with horses have ensured their safety, it be because their territory is more traversable for horses, and so oh the and so oh Mexican tribes trying to take them over, or will have the issue of trying to fight the cavalry. This basically means that if any time in the future or an empire in Mexico forms more powerful than the ones that currently exist, it's, it's probably going to be stuck in one of these two areas: the coastal regions or the inland. But it's also a race to race to see who can breed the most mountain traversing horse. And once that's done, this ends. And and whoever owns horses is has power or over everyone who doesn't. South America for now, simply doesn't and to get at the experience of having horses, sheep, and pigs. Instead, I mean, personally, I think they'd start seeing if the camelids could be more approached. Llamas are good for making fur, but are they good for travel? They aren't, but at least they won't even charge at you. You you be charged at an enemy because that's their death, and they don't exactly like that. So now I'll be they'd probably be looking for other uses. Maybe you can eat the llamas. Now humans can eat a ton of stuff, so I think that they probably would be able to eat the llamas. I mean, it's not exactly a moral thing to do, but sadly, the moral complex doesn't yet include llamas. So they're going to be sacrificed as for the well-being of the Andean civilizations. So by 1300, right, the states are of Mexico, the Andes, and other places aren't insanely affected, but soon they will be. Thank you. Please like and subscribe, and have a nice day.